Batman number 50, Tom King. And I'll say Mikel Janin because he did the main story sections, but there's like 25.
We can't list everybody.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's,
We'll mention it because they're neatly all signed as we go, so we can tell them who did each page as we go. But yeah, Batman number 50. That's what we're doing. Well, where to begin with Batman 50? Obviously, it's the biggest book of the week. Everyone's been talking about it. The internet's been not shutting up about their feelings on the book. But I guess we'll start with just how we feel. How did we like it? And a nice short summation. Matt, did you enjoy Batman 50?
Disappointed, very disappointed. So, get ready for a wedding, and then the way that this ends, I was just like, no, okay. So it's like every superhero wedding ever. Like we can't have nice things. So, and I gotta mention too, I made it through the whole week without being spoiled. Like I was dodging those things like I was in the Matrix. So, I'm pretty proud of myself for that one. But then when I had made it to the end, I was like, oh, well, maybe I should have been spoiled. I would have had such high expectations.
Connor.
As the result of what happened, very disappointed. As an issue, I think it's pretty mediocre at best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was... Where did I kind of land here? I have some weird issues with things that don't quite line up with the build-up to it. Like, just in context of the story, there's some weird issues I have with it. I think there's some fantastic moments in the book. There's some fantastic moments sprinkled throughout, which we'll get to as we work through it.
Well, one of my favorite moments in King's Run happened in this one.
But
yeah, it's not all bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's actually very well written. My bigger problem... the thing that everyone's really fixated on is that they're not actually married, right? The wedding didn't happen. I'm not actually bothered by that.
No.
In and of itself.
It's the way it happened, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what bothers me, is the reasoning why it didn't happen.
Well, even the reasoning, I'm fine
with.
I
actually like the reason. I think the reason has a lot of story potential. It's introduced very suddenly before it happens.
The problem is, it's the seed of doubt is planted, and then 2 pages later, that's it. I forget it all.
But I do think it does good things for her character and something we can explore with her, probably in her book.
Yeah, and that's fine. But had we seen this in the build-up to it, like even in her picking the dress and like, should I do this? Should I not?
Yeah. Before people correct us, yes. We mentioned this when it happened a couple of issues ago. There was one issue 49 did end with the first tease of this logic.
That's still, to be honest, though, that's still too soon, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying otherwise. I'm just saying because we're saying it again just too quickly, and you specifically said 2 pages before. I want to just acknowledge it was brought up before before people correct us.
It's 2 pages.
Yeah. So, and that's what I mean about the reasoning is like, yeah, that's fine, and it's got a lot of potential, but the way that it was executed, it left me with a bad taste, and especially that final page. I'm just like, what is even going on here? Like.
I do think the reaction on the internet's been a bit in the rough side to witness.
Oh,
mainly because I feel like, regardless of the quality of the issue, what you're really mad about here is DC marketing and DC building it up as the big wedding issue, and having the ad that looks like the invite, and having all the covers, and
definitely doesn't help. I think even as an issue, I think it doesn't read that well as an issue.
Well, no, I'm not necessarily agreeing or disagreeing with that. I'm saying, though, that the reason for the outcry, the reason for the backlash is not the issue's quality at all. I don't think it is. I don't think it remotely is. I think people are just pissed because they were promised a wedding that didn't happen. And I think the reason why it doesn't bother me, and maybe why it doesn't bother us as a whole, is because we always kind of went into it with the 50-50 of, it's either going to happen or it's not. But I think it's pretty... equal a chance that it won't happen, and I was okay with it not happening. It just, whatever the reason is, fine. But DC promoted this so heavily as this special wedding issue that it's actually really bizarre reading it when it was clearly never going to be a wedding.
So I actually thought that all the marketing, the swerve would be there was no swerve. Like, we're actually going to get a Batman Catwoman wedding. Because
I was kind of thinking that
they're priming us that it's not by making such a big deal. And I got worked, like, plain and simple. And that's fine.
Until the New York Times decided to spoil it in their headline. Like, I get
that annoyed me.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. comics have been doing this for 20, 30 years. You know, Death of Superman was spoiled, and you know the press.
So the worst part of it is though, I don't even mind them spoiling it in the articles beforehand, just not in the headline.
The headline,
because I can't avoid the headline.
Because the headline,
Barry White would want their head.
Because the headline was I don't know what the start of it was, but it ended with it was not meant to be.
It was sorry Batman, it wasn't meant to be.
And I'm like, well, that's obvious what that means. So we all know now. Thank you for that. And I'll blame DC as well, because DC obviously okayed it and were fine with it.
Yeah, they didn't. What annoys me is why didn't they put an embargo on it? Leave the embargo on.
Because they want as much. They want as much press from this as they can get from.
I know, but if they put that out Wednesday morning, let's be honest, the majority of people who are seeing that headline who weren't aware of the wedding in general anyway.
Yeah,
probably people who are going to buy it digitally. They're not going to be. They're not the people already.
Well, no, I think more at the point though, people who weren't aware before and are only going to buy it because they get interested because of that headline. They're probably not going to walk in onto the comic shop on July 4th, right? That's the real thing here. That adds to it as well. It's just because even Tom King didn't know, and Tom King was pissed about it. He was tweeting that he was kind of, you know, he was clearly annoyed.
Well, he should.
He did somewhat make it worse by not entirely understanding how Twitter works, because he liked some people who were complaining about it, who were sharing, like people were sharing the headline and complaining that, oh, really? In the headline. And he was liking those tweets. So then it comes up on my feed going, Tom King liked this, and I'm seeing that there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blame him for that. I get what he's doing there.
Yeah, no, I get it. Just learn how Twitter works a little bit.
So on a scale of 0 to Marvel spoiling Johnny Storm's death a week before it happens, where is this at?
This is pretty bad. Like this is probably the biggest blunder DC's made since we started this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So about an 8 on that scale.
Yeah, I think it is.
Johnny Storm's death's a 10.
I think, you know, a death in general being spoiled early is worse. But this is bad because of the marketing, because of the lead-up.
No,
if this had just been... If we didn't know that this was going to be a huge wedding issue, and then they told us a week before, it's like, sorry, the engagement was pulled off.
So here's the thing. I think the marketing is the biggest problem with this book. I think I have some issues with it as well, but there's a lot in it I like. I think if they just... Okay, I would still be oversized because it's still issue 50, and they did that for 25, and that wouldn't be a big deal, right?
Yeah. No.
But because of the way they've heavily done this wedding thing, and they've made it such a huge deal, and they've promoted the shit out of it...
But I did see a lot of people saying they were going to take Batman off the poll list in response to that.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know how true that is, but whether they stick to it or not. But that
tells me that you're given more into the sensationalism than the actual storytelling. By that standard, that's something I would have done 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, because I think I'll make this clear. I've loved King's run. I think it is 90% fantastic. And like this does not waver me. And he said repeatedly, he even said, as soon as the story broke, he said, this is a 100-issue run. This is not the end of even the Batman and Catwoman story. The whole thing's a love letter to them. Which is actually leading to me my next point, is that I actually think there's a really good chance that they'll still get married before the end of this run.
I think it's funny because last week we were betting whether or not they'd get married, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I said, if they do get married, they'll be divorced. I was on the opinion that they wouldn't, but if they do get married, they'll be divorced in 100.
But also it's the opposite.
I think the other way around now. I think they get married in 100.
Now, I actually really like that. I like the idea that it won't be like a build-up next time, though, and I don't think it can be. I think it will be like a surprise. Kind of like the proposal where... And this is actually my first problem with it, my main problem with the issue, actually, believe it or not, before we talk about anything else, is that at the start of the book, there's a funny bit with Kite Man, and it makes sense that Kite Man's in issue 50 because he's been such an important part of this Batman run. But Batman and Wonder Woman, Batman and Catwoman are basically just like, so how about we just get married tomorrow on a roof? Yeah, let's do that. Well, it'll be small, no one will be there. We started off the one-shots building up to this. Damien's getting fitted for a suit. What was all this happening for?
Everyone knows about this.
Yeah, kind of reinforces. I don't know if it was James or Connor that pointed out like none of those wedding one-shots matter. In fact, I stopped buying them.
In fact, Seeley, I believe, tweeted saying, "If I can avoid spoilers for issue 50, and I wrote 5 things leading up to it, then you've got no excuse for not avoiding them."
But
one, I think, is a dick attitude because it's a headline.
That is.
And two, he did not read issue 50. He did not know how this was going in.
Right.
when he was
Oh,
writing.
which he admitted. But what's funny about that though is that he clearly, I mean, he may have known the wedding wasn't going to happen, but he clearly didn't know that the actual wedding, when it happened, was going to be on a rooftop with no one there except Alfred and
I think
Holly.
that's insane. How can he not know that going in?
Well,
how can if you're writing five
writing problem? Well, they used to be writing partners. They wrote Grayson together.
Yeah, they did.
So you think there'd be some kind of communication?
Right.
It's so weird. It's so weird. Those one shots feel like a complete cash grab, even more than they did before. It is actually bizarre to me.
Yeah.
They didn't even know where it was going in the one shots. It's weird.
They've annoyed me. You know, I stopped reading them because I thought, no, this just feels like a cash grab. But now I'm even more annoyed at them.
Yeah,
it's so stupid. And again, I think the one shots kind of add to the fire. It adds a little bit to it, and it's just rough. So that really bugged me. I didn't understand. As soon as they started setting up for this like secret wedding that no one was going to be there, I was like, but wait a minute, we've had bachelor parties and Damien getting suited and
discussion of who's going to be the best man.
Yeah, all this stuff.
And bachelorette party, like,
and all of it was like not even in continuity by the sounds of it.
Yeah, nope. And that's a problem, but I can glaze over that for.
Geez,
I mean,
it's weird.
we got to go back to Porky's.
Yeah, but it's a big editorial oversight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just so weird. I don't even know. So yeah, so we start with them, and then basically the structure of the book is after a couple of pages of like the main story with Jan and Art, right, which is building up to the wedding and them getting ready. There's like 2 pin-ups, like they're always in pairs. Yep. And the first one's always from Batman's perspective with his narration, and then the second one's always from Selina with her narration. And they're basically talking about each other's eyes throughout almost the entirety of this, and talking about seeing each other in their eyes. And so obviously these, for the most part, look absolutely fantastic. Obviously there's some great stunners in here. I got real nostalgic when it hit the sale one because it looked on Halloween.
Well, I think that's what's really interesting is just most of these, as pieces of art, I like a lot. You know, there's a lot of fantastic images. I feel like it really kills the flow of the book to have these mostly unrelated just image. You know, it's pin-up pages, right? It's the celebration pages.
Yeah.
As part of the story, the sale one is one of the rare exceptions where it's actually got panels.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also I lined on the Fabic page. I always want to point out he's a great artist, and I love that Catwoman suit. You know, the purple with the high boots and stuff. But he went a bit nuts with the boobs in that page. I'm not gonna lie. They look like metal balls.
To be fair, have you seen Batman's arms?
Okay, but I mean how shiny they look though.
Pythons.
They look like
it's
almost
the way the light's coming off it.
Yeah, it's almost bowling balls. It's just like 2 bowling balls on her chest. It's weird.
Yeah.
So that really stuck out to me.
They don't respect gravity at all.
They don't respect.
Well, hang on. To be
physics.
Fair, that suit is clearly holding them up. They're that tight.
Well, I think that's my point. It looks more painted on her skin than it does an actual suit, which it often still does when it's drawn properly. So I'll critique that a little bit. Frank Miller can go piss off.
Yeah.
With his Dark Knight.
I like the stuff with Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah.
Where
I like that. You know, I like that they're fighting them. You know, one of them's fighting each of them simultaneously. Yeah. That's a nice touch.
No, that's good. And there's some great stuff in here. The scene with Alfred, where Alfred's like, "Oh, who do I get? Do I get Clark or Richard to be there for you?" And he's like, "No, you, Alfred." And like Alfred
it's always
breaks
been
down.
Me and you. That right there, one of my favorite moments in King's Run, just because it's a human moment, like between those two. So, oh man, so good.
It's got the character interaction, the human parts of the story, all play out really well in the scenes they're in. Albuquerque's got a nice page. I'm going through it as I'm talking.
That's a good one. The Hughes page was pretty bad as I'm thumbing through these. That's another one. But that's not Adam. It's Adams, not Hughes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's Neil Adams. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought Hughes had a good one if he was in here.
Yeah. No, I misread the name on the bottom.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah,
I'm not sure. Catwoman's arm and the hat. It feels weird, doesn't it?
And the whole pose. I don't get that. Like.
And this is the thing. Like, we had that one story in Action 1000 that did this with all the pinups, right? The Gleason run.
Yep.
And that was fine because it was one little story amongst all the others, and then the rest of the pinup art that was there, which I don't know if you got because I don't think the pinup pieces were in the digital version.
They weren't.
They were only in the print. They were just scattered throughout between stories.
Yeah.
And I feel like these make a fantastic gallery of images celebrating their relationship to put at the start or the end of the book. But I don't think they work as part of the story.
I mean, I don't have as much of a problem with the flow as much as Connor does. I don't agree that it's perfect or anything like that, but for me, because it was such a system, it was always the pair, and it was always like, and they were kind of evenly spread. So the structure, once I got used to it, I came to expect it as I was going, I guess is what I'm saying.
Fair, but even when I knew what was coming, it felt really stop and start.
Yeah.
It just killed the momentum of the.
Yeah, for me, I got used to it. Well, after the first couple of batches, I was fine with it. I can see why it bothered you, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not something that's going to work for everyone. But that was not an issue I had. Like I said, I think I like the book the most out of us, but I'm still. I've still got issues here.
So, also, I like when they throw in little Easter eggs to creators of the character's past, but sometimes it goes a little too far. Like, everything in this one is a reference to a creator in the past, whether it's the Conway bedroom or O'Neill Ave.
Oh yeah,
the
there was
Englehart bedroom.
so many creator names and like the streets and stuff. This issue.
And like that's cool, and I appreciate it, but like, King, we tone it down a tad.
Actually, to be fair though, I remember a couple of them popping up previously in the run, so they're actually it's almost like they're doing a good job of saying no, O'Neill Avenue is a real place in Gotham, and it's always there.
Well, but it's the bedrooms that get me. Even when people in mansions don't name their bedrooms, right?
No, not really.
I mean,
it's it's the third one on that hall.
I just say it gets its worse when there's the Kane Plaza and the Finger Tower. I was just like, okay, like.
There was a lot. There was definitely a lot. So yeah, they're not married. I fully believe that. And here's what I like about this. Right, here's what I like from the character perspective. So Selina is doing this because she sees this as her heroic sacrifice. That by choosing not to, because she thinks that Batman needs to be miserable, that Bruce needs to be miserable, or Batman doesn't exist. And that's really unhealthy. That's like I've seen people like critique this and saying, oh, but that's like. That's enabling someone with a problem. You shouldn't do that. But I think that's the point. I think the point is that she's making the wrong choice, and she sees this as the heroic sacrifice that she's making.
So,
but we're going to get that story, right?
Yeah. So I think where this is going to go is this whole wedding was between Batman and Catwoman, right? Like Bruce Wayne can't marry Selina Kyle, but I think by whenever they do finally get back together, it will be Bruce and Selina getting married, even if it's in a private little ceremony. They're getting eloped by whoever.
Not some drunk
I think
minister,
that's what's,
right?
Yeah, some drunk minister.
Yeah. So I think that's where it's going to go. Is she's not marrying Batman? She's marrying Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And that Bruce can coexist with Batman. They're not one and the same anymore.
And I think
feel that's going to be a journey for Bruce to go on.
Because that's been the point of King's whole run, is can Batman be happy and still be Batman? That is the point of the entire thing. And Selina has basically come to the conclusion that he can't be, and that Batman needs to exist because he does so much good. And that's why she sees it as a heroic sacrifice. But I think the point of the run is that, no, maybe he can get better. Like, I think when you look at this as a traditional Batman story, that's when you start to maybe see kinks and you start to pull it apart. But as a story about Batman as someone who is deeply troubled, and can he actually like grow and recover from it, I think that's where this run shines, and I think there's a lot of high points in there. So I'll defend this run a lot. I know Connor has more problems with it more often than
I do.
I do.
This issue is the peak of my problem of it needs a plot to back it up. When it's not got a plot and it's just about when it's just the character. The character work has been great, but it needs the plot to back up the character work for me.
I don't agree with that.
And I prefer the character. Well, I prefer the character stuff. Like the Superman Lois stuff is still my favorite from this run, just because we got to see them all being like people.
Yeah, I'm not saying that none of the character issues have been good. Like those Superman ones were very good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like it has to. When he goes so long without plot backing it up, it starts losing steam. It starts losing momentum.
Plots for whims. Plots for whims. You don't need plot. What you need.
No, see, that's where I'll disagree too. I like a balance.
I'm being facetious, Matt. I'm not being literal.
Okay.
I'm just.
Well, no, but I've heard people say that. Like, I've heard people like go, "Well, I don't need plot in a comic. I just need character development." I'm like, well, why can't we have both?
Oh, we
Like,
can
I
absolutely
like
both.
it.
But
Yeah, you know.
I think
And I feel King's done a good job at that.
when you're doing close examinations, though, I think it's okay to have issues that don't. Like, I think it's okay to have an issue that is just about like one like conversation or one,
I
whatever.
agree with that, but I think it's been too much in the last 15, 20 issues or so.
Yeah, but look at
More
More Jokes and Riddles. That was all story.
No, it was, which is why I say I think it's got worse as it's gone on. Between the Ivy stuff, the church, this, there's been a few chunks in this last section of the run where I'm really starting to feel it.
Nah, those church issues were great. I dispute that.
Me too.
Quality aside, is my point is these character issues instead of the plot, they've all been focused into this chunk of the run. So it feels uneven. I feel like they're all being squeezed in at once. And this is not about, they could be the best issues ever. And you might think that, and that's fine. But in terms of pacing, in terms of where they're coming in the run, I feel like it's been long chunks without the plot driving it forward anymore.
Because for me, the reason why it's getting more personal and more focused as we get towards what was going to be the wedding is that it's like all the other stuff's drowning out because that's all they're thinking about. So it's becoming more focused because it is more personal, it's more reflective because they're starting to question, because like they always do with wedding stories and anything, it's like, oh, is this the right choice? Am I doing the right thing? Am I making this commitment? And you start reflecting on your past. And I think that's why the issues have become more like that in the build up to it. So I think it's actually quite smart. I think in terms of pacing, it's almost like it's the wedding equivalent of like in an action movie where you're building up to like the third act explosion where things start tensing up and there's more and more adrenaline and stuff. It's kind of the emotional romantic equivalent of that. In a bizarre way.
But then there's no explosion.
Well, yeah, there wasn't an explosion, but we're not debating what the payoff. We're debating all these issues.
But if you build up to it and then it's a wet firework, like you're kind of like, oh well.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying, oh, I'm gonna stop reading. I'm taking off my pull list. I'm not at that point. No. But it's left me less excited about the run going forward.
Oh no, this final page has got me freaking hyped for how batshit insane this is going to be.
See, I don't agree there. I think I'm the midpoint between you two, because like I got to that final page and I was just confused.
Well, let's talk about the final page then. So we return, right? So obviously Holly throughout the book has been with Selena, and obviously she was in the Archeum and she's been let out to like for the wedding.
And she still killed all those people, right?
She did, yeah.
Still... Okay.
And we should point out she's the one who planted the seeds of doubt in Selena's mind.
Well, that's what I was just getting to. But I was just getting to like explain that she's been here out for the wedding, and she's the one who's like sort of like going back to those ideas, and she goes back to Arkham at the end of the book, and it turns out she goes back, and there's a page. The final panel of the book is her saying, "The bat is broken," and this is Bane's there on like a throne of skulls. Where these skulls came from, I don't know. But
it's the same throne he had last time, right?
Was it? I can't remember.
So
this is on that throne in that arc, the third arc of the book.
And I Am Suicide.
That's fair. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So Bane's there. He is in some way manipulating this stuff to the point to break Batman in a way that's different, and I like that. I like the idea that instead of just breaking him physically, this is like much more personal. This is much more like malicious and emotional. But here's the thing: Bane's not alone. There's an entire group of characters around Bane, and some of them make sense to a point. Riddler's there, Joker's there, Psycho Pirate.
I'm not sure Joker makes sense in this.
No,
honestly.
No. It makes enough sense.
This is my argument.
Plan? No chance.
I don't know if all of these people are actually here.
Well, we'll get to that. Let's get through the rest of them. As far as Joker's concerned, though, I don't think it's that weird. Joker's been in plans before. He's in the goddamn Legion of Doom and Justice League right now.
Against Batman, given that he was again to go back to how things have not found in continuity recently. He's just been going around waiting for his wedding invitation. He's like, oh, there's something going on. Like he just found out about it through the the scuttlebutt.
Until you actually see how he interacts with Bane, until you know what the plan actually is, I feel this is weird to criticize this right now. You're reacting to one panel of him just being there.
Yeah.
No, fine.
I think that's jumping the gun.
It feels wrong.
I think Joker would happily team up with anyone if it's going to mess with the Batman.
But see, that goes against what King had said in the church issues, where he wants Batman around because Joker does all this to give Batman a reason. So I don't see him teaming up with Bane doesn't necessarily mean like that means more Batman for him. I think Joker could do that all on his own.
Well, he
You know
could
what I
do
mean?
it, but Joker's whole thing is he likes to provoke Batman and try and get different reactions out of him. So
Right.
him working with a group of others to achieve that isn't necessarily out of the realm of possibility. I don't know. This doesn't strike me as odd for Joker to be there. I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I don't get the instant
keep
like,
going.
oh no, this is wrong. This feels bad. Why is he here?
Keep going on the other side, though.
So yeah. So this is where things get really wacky, though. That's a normal. I didn't expect anyone to debate that side of the panel. Because the other side's way weirder. Right, we got the ventriloquist there with Scarface, okay, fine. Hugo Strange, alright, sure. That makes sense. He's not been around too much. He was there, obviously, at the start of the book, but with the build-up to the Monster Men. But the two that really stick out here is weird. The two that is like, okay, what the hell are we doing? One is Gotham Girl, who I've not seen in a while, and of course, she wasn't a villain, like, before.
No, and I did criticize that we'd not seen her in a while, because we set up the first arc was the ending of that was setting up this stuff that we haven't touched on since.
It's the end of Batman.
I don't have a problem with not seeing her a while. If anything, it makes her
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, with a random appearance here, it actually has more impact because we're not seeing her in a while. So, oh wait, she's here and she's with them. What? Why? Like, I don't know. That works for me.
Dude.
No, but my point is that's the first arc. That's the statement of what the book is, and then that just went away, and we got this different book entirely.
No, I don't agree with that. He's playing the long game. I have no problems with that. I don't see the first arc as a statement of what the rest of the run's going to be necessarily.
No.
That feels like a weird, like, hardline rule to set yourself into. And
Who else is there, Pete?
So the final person that's there, that's especially out of freaking nowhere and batshit insane, and I don't mean that to make a pun, but seriously, Flashpoint, Batman.
There you go. Also, you're missing Skeets. What's Skeets doing there?
I didn't even notice Skeets on the floor. Shit.
Yeah.
I was about to fight you, and I was like, oh shit, Skeets is on the floor.
Skeets is there too.
That's what makes me think. With the skulls, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
I never noticed him before.
That's what makes me think that this isn't what it appears to be. I feel like this is Holly. Because all of these represent the entire run. Like each, from Gotham Girl to Hugo Strange to Ventriloquist and Bane, the Button, Psycho Pirates there from the first arc, and then War of Jokes and Riddles.
And obviously Skeets just from the gift.
And then Skeets from the last one. So I feel, and then Holly from that stuff with Catwoman, where he had to clear her name and go with to the League of Assassins.
So are you saying that? Are you saying that Holly's real and she's kind of almost like seeing all this in her head?
I think so, because I have a hard time thinking this is in Arkham Asylum. Like, for them just to all assemble there like that, especially with Flashpoint Batman. Like,
admittedly, Flashpoint Batman's a big wrench in like any of the normal thinking that I'd have. I'll give you that. I don't know if I'm ready to jump to, Bane's not really there, though.
It's so weird, because she is kneeling like this there, and we've never had any inclination that she sees things, though, right?
No, but we know that she went nuts from killing all of those people. Like, that's why Selena took the fall for her. Because she knew she was mentally ill.
Don't get me wrong, I actually like the idea. I mean, I don't think this is what they're doing here, but I like the idea in some capacity that something like this, like the big revelation could be that Holly was never even with Selena, right? This issue, and Holly wasn't there, and this all represents the doubt of like being with Batman. All this combined, all of this, it all represents everything that is like scary about him and what could like. I like that idea, but I don't think that's what they're doing.
That doesn't track.
Yeah.
No, I just feel like it's Holly is the main bad guy here. She's the one that's on. And maybe Bane's there too, but I can't buy that everyone's there. I feel this is more of a metaphorical piece.
I mean, it won't be that long before we know.
Like I said, that throne of skulls that he's got, that was in Santa Prisca, right?
Yes, it was. And then he came to Gotham, and Batman defeated him in I Am Batman. Yeah. So,
what happened to him after that? I don't remember.
We haven't seen him.
Well, that was just the end of the Bane story.
He wasn't captured or anything like that, though.
No.
No, okay. That's what I was.
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah.
But actually, I really like that this is bringing in everything in the run so far, and it makes me wonder. Okay, what the hell are we doing with with Flashpoint Batman and
it does feel like the mid-season finale, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it feels like the mid-season finale. That's actually what it feels like.
But yeah, so I guess we should rate it, right?
We'll talk half an hour about Batman.
I'm trying to move this along. I gotta.
No. We've spent a lot of time on it. No, I actually love how insane that last panel is. I just want to make that clear. I have issues with how they promoted this. I have issues with how none of this stuff building up to it actually feels in continuity, because apparently they were never having a big wedding in the first place. Because I'd be fine with it if, like, they were going to have a big wedding and they said, hey, what about instead of going to the big thing?
But they hadn't even decided on somewhere yet. They hadn't booked anything.
Like, if they turned to her and said, hey, I know we're going to get married in like 2 weeks at this big place, but how about we just elope tomorrow? Like, if that had been one panel of conversation, I'd have been like, fine, whatever. They changed their minds and did this instead. But they never apparently were planning a big wedding, so why was everyone else planning for it? It was weird. So that bugged me. I do think it kind of rushes, like, her making her choice. But I like the drama behind the choice and what it could... Because this is maybe the first time Selina's being truly heroic, where she's really being sacrificial for herself, for the good of others.
She's a character that's kind of driven by her own... I don't want to say greed, because it's not greed.
Yeah.
But all of her decisions are about Selina, not about somebody else. So when she makes the decision about Bruce, then
Yeah, it feels like a big thing for her. I like that. I think the last panel, I'm actually really excited about the insane plot we're going to get with this. So I'm into that. So I am a lot more positive overall, even though I still think the issue has a lot of big problems. The biggest problem, I think, though, was the marketing. I think the way DC promoted it is the big wedding and really, like, drilled that into everyone's head. So yeah, we'll rate it. We'll rate the book. So Matt, what would you want to give it?
So the janitor, really good. Most of the pinups, really good.
Yeah.
And the story, really good. So I could say that this book was really good. So that's why I give it a 7 out of 10. Okay,
I think that's fair. Connor.
Yeah. See, the more I've thought about it over the week since I've read it, the less I like it. Yeah, when I read it, first thing I read on Wednesday, obviously, and I thought, it was okay. And the more I've got, it's just like, so what? I didn't like it that much. I really didn't. So I'm giving it a 4.
Difference in opinions is what makes this interesting. Makes us cook. I'm in a similar. I'll probably go slightly higher than that and go with 7.5. Like, I think it's flawed enough that I can't really give like a great rating. Because ultimately I finished it, and there's things that I really like, but I still kind of feel like this was a murky finale to what we've been building to, because it's.
Listen, there's definitely good things in here, but I don't think it's a very good issue. I mean, if this is my issue of a comic and I'm reading that, I don't think it's that well put together as a piece of a story.
Yeah, the pinups. I mean, I admire what King tried to do with the different, with the dueling speeches.
Yeah, the letters, right? But I just don't think it worked.
Like most modern blockbuster movies, it doesn't stick the landing, So, yeah, it's. I mean, the Alfred and Bruce scene alone though is worth half a point for me. Like, I love that so much.